the FP RTA from TVP and Blitz Enterprises. Let's have a look. Hey guys, Vick here, back with another review. Today we are looking at this. This is the FP RTA from Blitz Enterprises and TVP, the vaping postman. Brand new RTA on the scene, designed for the first time by Mark the Vaping Postman. It's a 30mm wide RTA, 4mm capacity or 6mm capacity with the bubble tank, dual or single coil, goon tips on top, top filling, clamp style deck system, adjustable airflow, all that good stuff. What we need to do is fly down low. I'll show you a single coil build and a dual coil build in here. I'll show you the wicking and all that good stuff. Then we'll fly back up top for pros and cons on this RTA. Let's go. Okay guys, here we are down low with the FP RTA designed by TVP and Blitz Enterprises. This is the packaging. No complaints with the box as such. Yeah, pretty solid. Inside, now depending on where you live in the world, it depends what get in the box. If you're in the UK, you will get a very small glass section that doesn't work on top of here, and then separately you will receive this piece of glass here. So we'll come back to the RTA in a second. But this is the smaller glass. That's the smaller glass. Don't use the glass that comes on it if you're in the UK. It doesn't work. It literally just doesn't work with that glass, so just ignore that one. It also comes with a frosted bubble glass. If you do want to use that, you do get more capacity, but do be careful with, you know, tank cracker juices and things like that. You also get some spares and a clear goon drip tip as well. On the tanker standard, you get the knurled drip tip, which is good. I do like these knurled goon tips. Put that all to one side, and this is the RTA, the FP. You've got Fs all the way along the top here, and Ps along the bottom, and FP in the middle on a knurled chamber. So starting at the top, goon tips. Goon tips fit in here, no problem. I've used other goon tips. They seem to fit fine, so that is the first tick. You've also got top fill on here. I do like the threading on this tank. I do think it is overall very well made indeed. There we go. So huge top fill. No issue filling that up at all. I do prefer the way the tank looks with the straight glass. In terms of an aesthetic thing, my main gripe is the knurled chamber, which is just pure personal taste. I don't think it looks great. I mean, it makes the tank stand out and very unique, but I don't know. I think it would look better without a knurled chamber. They do say that it potentially helps the juice to move around in this tank. I don't think that's particularly an issue with this glass or with the bubble glass. And I don't know about the science on that. I don't know if it's like a bit like a head keeper on a beer glass. The rough edges, you know, mean that the juice doesn't sit the same on it. I don't know. To be honest, you know, I don't really buy into that. But there we go. We've got adjustable airflow at the bottom. So it's in like a 3-tiered style. I think Blitz have done this before. So you've got small, medium, and large, and it's all fully adjustable. So that's like small mode. That's like medium mode. And that is fully wide open on both sides, and it's quite noisy with the full open bit, but there's so much air going in when you do that. What do you expect, you know? It's quite a smooth draw down here where I kind of like it. Underneath we've got FP RTA serial number, designed by TVP and Blitz, and all that good stuff. Don't forget, this is a 30mm wide RTA. So opening her up, get into the saucy bit. This is the deck. Here we go. Look at this bad boy. So what you've got here is a couple of flathead screws holding down these ceramic pieces of deck. It's a clamp system. I've talked about these clamp systems before. I do prefer the 2-screw clamps to the 1-screw, but this does a pretty good job. The one thing I will make a note of, that you should make a note of if you think about picking this up. These ceramic plates, they work absolutely fine. They're absolutely fine, but they're it's very brittle ceramic. So just screw down carefully is all I'll say about that. It's not the same as metal that gives a bit. These don't. Just be careful when you're screwing them down. Not so much in dual coil because it's evenly going down on both sides, but in single coil mode you do have to be careful screwing these down. Just a little bit careful, you know. It's just a slightly cautionary thing. You've got your airflow right down the middle here, huge air down the middle, sort of like the Pharaoh or something like that, and it's a raised up deck like a GTA style deck, and then obviously your wicks go down here. Now I'm going to show it you with a dual coil and a single coil. I'm going to put a single coil in now. Just screwing a little bit slower and a little bit more careful than I normally would. Then let's put it in this side. Maybe this coil's a tiny bit wider than it should be, so it'll have to bend slightly back, but we'll fix that. Screw that nice and tight on there and straighten this up. Okay, let's just clip this down a bit, put it on a mod and warm it up. I genuinely don't really have any mods that look great with 30mm tanks like this. What I'm using is the RX Gen 2, which it does fit flush on, but because it's such a dinky mod it looks a bit crazy. But there we go, let's warm this coil up a bit. What resistance are we getting here? 0.15. What a nice chunky single coil in here, because it's such a big tank, you know, such big airflow. So if we're going to do single coil, it's going to have to be a chunky beast. Let's double check that these are tight enough. Excellent stuff. In terms of coil height, I'm going high this time. I just want a bit more kick from this single coil in terms of throat hit and flavour. Completely personal preference, because the airflow is coming from underneath. It's pure personal preference as to, you know, how high you want that coil. Trial and error will be the daddy on that. You can of course put the leads the other way around and have the coil sat down, but this is working absolutely fine like this for me, so let's just pursue this. In terms of wicking, because it's a single coil and because it's a big old tank, I'm really going to have to try and get as much cotton through here as I can to fill out those juice wells. So let's do that. Cutting roughly just past the edge of the tank. I'll pull a bit more through to make up for that. That's a bit stingy. Just even that back out a bit. Sorry if I'm going off camera a touch. Just thin these a bit. Now it wicks very fast, this tank, so it's not too much of a concern, but I'll just thin them out a little bit there. And then we are just placing this on top, making sure we can still get our screwdriver through a little bit, but essentially we're just wicking it like that, and I'll show you the dual coil in a minute. But there we go, it's kind of just sat on top like that. It's not really coming underneath, and if we put a screwdriver there, you can see it can sort of get down if it has to. So there we go, that is it wicked up. What I'll quickly do is I'll flip over to dual coil, and I'll show you a dual coil build. Okay guys, this is how it looks in dual coil mode. This has had a lot of juice through it, so it's also what it looks like after quite a lot of use. As you can see, dual coils in there. The important bit to note about dual coiling this RTA is the width of the coils. Now, you're looking at 3mm. You want 3mm in here, really. I think they've missed a trick. Personally, I think if they'd have gone postless with this deck, they'd have gained all this extra space here and here. And you could have got wider diameter coils in here. You can squeeze 3.5 in just, but 3mm diameter seems to be the absolute golden amount, the golden width of coils. The other thing is cotton. Now, the air is all coming from underneath this RTA. I'll show you the deck. You'll see the deck in a sec. But the air is all coming up from underneath. So the more cotton you put in here, the more coil you put in here, the more the airflow is restricted by what's on top here. So do bear that in mind. In terms of wicking, it couldn't be simpler. It's a very, very forgiving RTA in terms of wicking. It wicks very, very fast, which will need to if you're on your high wattage. But basically, you just lump in these big strands of cotton down into here. Don't bother putting it too low down. Just make sure there's a nice coverage in here and there's a bit of room for the juice to move around. Same on the other side here. You just popping them down there, not too far down, and happy days. So let's go back to putting it together. Okay, so that was a dual coil. Let's continue wicking this beast up, juicing it up, I should say. Just get it all nice and wet to start with, and then we'll put the tank back together and go up top. So yeah, single or dual coil, do be slightly more careful with screwing down on the single coil because it's ceramic plates. Obviously you get a lot more airflow if you're doing a single coil because there's less coil and less cotton in the way. But let's screw this back on. There's no sort of latches or catches or tricks to putting this back on. You just turn it upside down and start screwing. Get it quite tight on there because we need to do the top fill here. Like I say, no major issues with threading or anything like that. Certainly no issues with filling it down the top. Absolute monster in here. Look at this crazy guy. Very, very easy to fill up. And we'll talk about capacities and all that stuff up top once we've got this top cap on. There we go. Focus, Daniel-san. There we go. So that is the FP all built up, all wicked up, all juiced up, and sitting proudly on the mod. Let's go up top for pros and cons on this bad boy. See you in a sec. Okay guys, that was the FP RTA down low. Loads to cover with this RTA. Firstly, in terms of airflow, this has a lot of it. It's a lot of it and a lot of choices as well. You can adjust it all the way down, all the way up. Fully open, it is absolutely massive amount of airflow. It's just like breathing into it, you know. It's not too loud either. For such an amount of airflow, I was expecting it to be very loud. It's not. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty good. The smoothest airflow setting seems to be the middle one. That seems to be about right. I've been rocking it though on the smallest one, but you can adjust as much as you like along these along the airflow, so you can choose it. You can dial it into exactly how you like, so that's absolutely fine. So on the lowest, on the highest, it's vaping like this. But do remember with the airflow situation that it completely depends on your build as well, because all the airflow is coming from underneath the coil. So it very much depends on how you've built it. Dual coils are more restricted than single coils because of the amount of stuff covering over the airflow. So bear that in mind. In terms of building and wicking, Building, if you're building a dual coil, you don't want to do a bigger coil than 3mm wide, really. 3mm diameter coil. There's literally just not enough space in there for anything bigger. You can just about squeeze 3.5mm in, but definitely nothing bigger than that. In terms of single coil, you can get whatever you like in there. If you're doing a single coil though, do be careful screwing down the clamps. It's ceramic plates on those clamps, so do be a little bit careful on that. Not crazy careful or anything, don't get me wrong, but because they're ceramic, they're a little bit more brittle than metal, so just be careful screwing those in. So yeah, so you can do a single or a dual coil, no major issues with building it. Just be aware that you can't go crazy wide coils on a dual coil. I do think that if they'd have done a postless deck instead of a clamp style deck, there would have been more room for coils in there. I know with 30mm RTAs and 30mm RDAs, people like to put huge coils in them, and obviously you can't do that with this one. No major issue for me, but yeah, if you're looking at this as a 30mm tank because you want a crazy build in there, it'd have to be a crazy single coil to work. Beyond that, looking around the tank, the styling's pretty interesting. I've got to admit, personally, I'm not a humongous fan of the knurled chamber. It definitely makes it look unique, but my personal taste, I'm not sure about the knurling there on the barrel. They say it might help with the juice moving around it, or the bubbles moving up, like a head keeper maybe on a beer glass. I'm not sure. I don't really buy into that, to be honest. Purely from a aesthetic standpoint, I prefer it if it was a normal barrel, but that's just pure taste. If you're using the bubble glass, you can't see it anyway. So there we go. In terms of capacity, with the straight glass, it's 4mm capacity. With the bubble glass, it's 6mm capacity. Again, for a 30mm RTA, that's not huge capacity. It's not huge capacity. You see 8, 9, 10mm in some of these 30mm tanks. But the reason for that, again, is this huge deck that's on here. So, swings and roundabouts on that one. When you get it, if you get it in the UK, you will get it with a very short bit of glass on it. Do not use the tank with that glass. That glass is purely to sort of bypass the TPD rules in some way. So don't try and use that small glass. Just throw that away and instantly put in the longer glass or the bubble glass, and it'll work fine. In terms of the TPD, I'm not actually 100% sure if that does bypass the TPD, because it's coming in the same package, it's coming in the same envelope or box, so I don't know if that actually works as a bypass for this. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it's a very grey area that they're working in there. The other thing as well, it might just be because I got a review sample, but there's no TPD ID number on this box either, and it should have that really. But again, that might just be because I've got a review sample. So there we go. So that is that. In terms of positives, I think it's got a lot of good positives going for it as well. Super easy to wick, and wicks like a beast. I've gone up to 120 watts on here, and the wicking has kept up really well. It definitely wicks very well, and it's very easy to wick. Very forgiving on the amount of cotton you stick in there. A lot of room for cotton as well. So it does wick up very well and very easy to actually wick. I haven't actually had any dry hits or flooding or anything like that. It seems very forgiving. Very good. Very good positive there. The clamps work, totally work. No major gripes with the clamps at all, especially for a dual coil, putting them on either side. I do personally prefer 2 screw clamps, but this works absolutely fine. Super easy to build on. I know I made it look a little bit fiddly down low, but that's just because I was on camera. It really is easy to build on here. Flavour is excellent. There's absolutely no getting around it. $80 watts. This is now that single coil build that I showed you down low. 80 watts, single coil. It's very flavoursome. It's a very flavoursome vape, and you'd expect nothing else. Yeah, it is. It's a very nice vape quality. I'm very much enjoying the flavour and the cloud production that this tank can provide. No issues there. It's very well made. It's very well made. Very good build quality. Blitz do seem to have a good reputation for build quality, and this one is no exception. Certainly very well put together, very well made. I like that it's goon tips. I really like the top fill. You know, it's absolutely just wide open kidney shape inside, so you can stick as much juice as you want in there. Really good top fill. Really good airflow options on here. I thought it'd be noisy. This style of slit, of this cycloptic 3-tier style, I thought it'd be noisy. It is not. It's very smooth because there's so many little holes on the inside as well. There's no turbulence. It's a very smooth draw, very smooth vape indeed, and absolutely loads of airflow options available, which is great. So all of those are positives. I like that it takes goon tips. The goon tips that it comes with I like as well, and it works absolutely fine with any goon tip that I've tried on here. So overall, it's a very, very nice vape. If I was being hypercritical about the vape it does provide, I would say that there are some 24mm tanks that I can get a very, very similar vape on. Certainly 25mm tanks that I can get a very similar vape on. The vape's kind of, in terms of flavour and vapour production, reminds me of the Engine V2. So I don't necessarily think you're getting a better vape because it's 30mm wide. I just think you're getting a 30mm wide tank that does vape very nicely. But a really nice, really nice vape quality on here. Great flavour, great cloud production. And because it wicks so well, you know, that very much helps that whole situation. So really good from all those standpoints. Looking around the internet, Heaven's Gifts seem to have it, 3F Vape seem to have it around $35 mark, so very much in the affordable range. Overall, a very solid job, a very good RTA overall. No major gripes, just loads of little nitpicky things along the way, but no major gripes with this. I think it is a very solid RTA that I have been enjoying using. Let me know what you think in the comments, like and subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you on the next review. Cheers.